Do today is run through the homework that was due. From the looks of your answers, some of you have the right idea, just made a couple silly mistakes. A couple of you are a little off, so let's see if we can clear it up a little bit. So here's the key to the homework that was due. It says, what is the value of sine negative 240? So that means we have to graph negative 240. So 0, negative 90, negative 180. So negative 240 is going to pull me to about here. Then I'm going to draw my triangle. Okay, now this is 180, this was 240. So I'm going to do 240 minus 180, that makes 60 degrees. So right there is 60, the reference angle. So that means this is 30. Across from 30 is a half. Across from 60 is radical 3 over 2. Now the question wants us to find sine. Sine is y. Y is whatever's written vertically, which would be radical 3 over 2. And then you have to decide if it's positive or negative. Well, it's up from the x-axis, so that means it's going to be positive. So you should have picked C for that one. Another way of telling is AS, it's in the sine quadrant, so sine is positive. All right, the next one. Sine 60 times cos 60. So that means I need a 60-degree triangle. So 0, right, this is 90. So a 60-degree triangle or angle goes there, and then we draw the triangle. Boom. So if that's 60, this is 30. Across from 30 is a half. Across from 60 is right. Sine of 60. Well, sine of 60, sine is always the vertical one, so that's a radical 3 over 2. And cos of 60 is always the one on the x-axis. So now if I multiply these together, radical 3 times 1 is radical 3. 2 times 2 is 4. So that's choice of D. All right, number 3. Let's take a look at number 3. Cos negative 240. Well, let's go back up to this picture. Negative 240, we're going to use the same graph as we did here, but this time it wants cosine. Cosine is whatever's written on the x-axis. Now if we go look at this picture again, what fraction did I write on the x-axis? I wrote a half. So we have to decide if it's going to be positive a half or negative a half. Well, it's the S quadrant, and we're doing cosine, so the letters are different, so that means it's got to be negative a half. So it's D. All right, find the numerical value of sine 30 plus cos 60. All right, well, cos 60 we just did with this picture, right? Here's 60. Cosine was whatever was written on the x-axis, which was a half. So I'm going to put a half here, right? What we have to do now is find sine of 30. So that means I need to draw a 30-degree angle and make a triangle out of it. So that means up here is 60. Across from 30 is a half. Across from 60 is radical 3 over 2. Now we're in the A quadrant. It means all these numbers are positive. And we want sine. Sine is the y value, so it's going to be 1/2. All right, so what's 1/2 plus 1/2? That makes the number 1. All right, number 5. Cosine negative 120. All right, so here's 0, negative 90, negative 180, right? Negative 120 is going to go about there. Okay, then we're going to draw a right triangle. The right angle's on the x-axis. So 180 minus 120 makes 60. That means the corner 60, the reference angle. This is 30. Across from 30 is a half. Across from 60 is radical 3 over 2. All right, I need cosine. Cosine is always whatever is on the x-axis. What is on the x-axis? The half is, right? Now is that, or if you do AST, we're in the T quadrant and it's cosine, that's another reason why it's negative. All right, the last 3. So let's take a look at number 6 now. Now the first thing we know is with number 6, it's in radian form. So I'm going to take 3 pi over 2 and multiply it by 180 over pi. Pi's cancel. So that makes 3 over 2 times 180. And that makes 270 degrees when you put that in your calculator. So the first thing we need to do is find sine 270 and then subtract away from it cosine of, and we're going to convert this, pi over 3 times 180 over pi. Pi's cancel. I get 180 over 3. That's 60 degrees. All right, now cos 60. We just did that one a couple of times. Cosine of 60, right? Fold the paper. This is my 60-degree triangle again. Cosine is whatever's on the x-axis. So that's going to be a half. So I know it's going to be minus a half. Now I got to do sine 270. And this is 0, 90, 180. All right, you guys, 270 hits around this line. That means it's a unit circle point. So this point here would be 1, 0, 0, 1, negative 1, 0. And this point right here is 0, negative 1. Okay, so we're going to use this point, and I have to do sine. Sine is the second number, or sine is the y, which is negative 1. So what does negative 1 minus a half make? Negative 1.5. So 6 should have been choice A. All right, number 7. First thing I have to do is convert 4 pi over 3 into degrees. So to do that, I'm going to multiply by 180 over pi, right? The pi's cancel. So if I do 4/3 times 180, you put that in your calculator, you're going to get 240 degrees. So this question really wants me to do sine 240. All right, so let's draw a triangle. 240, 0, 90, 180. So 240 is going to put me out there. Let me draw my triangle, right? So this is the 180 line. So if I do 240 minus 180, I get 60. So that means this corner is 60. That makes this corner 30. Across from 30 is a half. Across from 60 is radical 3 over 2. All right, sine. Sine is the y value, so it's this guy. So I'm going to be radical 3 over 2, and then I'm going to do A, S, T. It's the T quadrant, so it has to be negative, so it's choice B. All right, and finally, excuse me, we're going to do these two. So pi over 2 times 180 over pi. Pi's cancel. I get 180 over 2, and that's 90 degrees. So I have to do cos 90 plus sine 3 pi over 2. Now I did 3 pi over 2 right here. That's 270. Okay. Now what's special about 90 and 270? Right? Both of these are unit circle points. So come back up. Let's look at our unit circle. We need cosine at 90 degrees. So go to 90 degrees. There's a point there. Cosine is always the x value. So what's the x value here? 0. 0 plus. And then 270. So 270 is down here. And we need sine. Sine is the y value. So go ahead and make it negative 1. Right? And what's 0 plus negative 1? Negative 1. So that was the answer to the homework that was due today.